You've carried within you an old self, fragile, hesitant, bound by invisible chains. This book is no gentle whisper. It is a storm, a sacred fire that scorches illusions, tears away weakness, and rebuilds you into unshakable greatness. Prepare to be transformed forever. Since the beginning of human struggle, there has been a silent battle between who we are and who we are destined to become. The sages, warriors, and visionaries of old knew the truth. The path to greatness is not soft or comfortable. It is brutal, demanding, and raw. To rise, you must first be broken. To transform, the old self must die. This audiobook is not for those who seek comfort. It is a mirror held to your weaknesses, a forge where the fire of truth will melt away all that is false. Every chapter you hear is designed to strike deep, to challenge, to rip open the illusions you have carried for too long. Within these sacred words lies no permission for mediocrity, no room for excuses. The process is fierce but holy. Just as iron sharpens iron, you, too, must endure the sharpening that awakens your truest strength. Each lesson will press you, confront you, and demand your surrender to growth. Yet in that surrender lies your liberation. Understand that what feels like destruction is in truth a resurrection. The tearing down of your old self is not cruelty. It is love of the highest order. It is the call of your higher self, demanding you rise into the fullness of your power. This journey is not for everyone, but if you feel the fire in your chest, the hunger for more, then you are ready. The ancient voice of greatness has always whispered your name. Now it roars. Welcome to the most brutal initiation of your life. Chapter 1: The Sacred Breaking. Why destruction is the first step. Before greatness can take root, the soil of your life must be torn apart. Imagine a farmer standing before hardened earth, determined to plant seeds. He cannot simply scatter them upon the surface and hope for miracles. He must break the ground, split it open, and disrupt its stillness until it is raw, exposed, and ready. The same law governs you. The old version of yourself, the one built from fear, doubt, excuses, and fragile habits, cannot coexist with the greatness that calls your name. One must die so the other may rise. It is not cruelty that demands your breaking. It is sacred necessity. You were never meant to remain in the comfort of what you already know. The universe itself thrives on cycles of creation and destruction. Stars collapse into themselves before igniting into brilliance. Forests burn, and from the ashes richer soil emerges. Rivers carve through stone with relentless force, reshaping entire landscapes. Nature does not fear destruction. It honors it as the beginning of transformation, and so must you. Most people resist this truth. They cling desperately to the fragments of their old identity, guarding their weaknesses as though they were treasures. But the longer you hold on, the more suffocating your life becomes. Your comfort zone is nothing but a gilded cage, beautifully decorated yet deadly to your growth. To escape, you must face the sacred breaking, a shattering so profound it will feel like loss, yet in truth, it is liberation. The breaking begins with honesty, brutal, unflinching honesty. You must look at yourself without illusion, stripping away the lies you've whispered to soften the sting of mediocrity. Where have you chosen ease over effort? Where have you betrayed your own potential for fleeting comfort? These questions pierce like daggers, but their pain is the necessary blade that cuts chains you've worn for too long. Do not mistake this process for gentle encouragement. The breaking is violent, unrelenting. It strips you of false pride and dismantles the fragile constructs of ego. At first, it feels unbearable, like the collapse of everything you thought you were. But hold steady, for within this collapse lies the foundation of your rebirth. Think of the blacksmith who shapes a blade. He does not simply polish raw metal and call it strong. He heats it until it glows, hammers it with merciless force, and plunges it into water over and over again. Each strike, each shock, each moment of seeming destruction is, in fact, refinement. You are no different. Life will hammer you, burn you, and chill you until the impurities of weakness are forced out. If you resist, you will crack. If you surrender, you will harden into strength beyond anything you once imagined. This is why destruction is sacred. It reveals what cannot be destroyed. When everything unnecessary has been stripped away, what remains is indestructible. Beneath the layers of insecurity and fear, your core essence waits. It is pure, unshakable power, but you will never find it until the lesser self is shattered. Embrace the breaking. Welcome it. Whisper to yourself in the silence of night, I am ready to be undone. I am ready to be remade. With each admission, the chains of your old self loosen, and the sacred fire of transformation begins to burn. The pain you feel is not the end. It is the beginning. Greatness will not come by preserving who you are. It will only come by destroying what you must no longer be. Chapter 2. Facing the Mirror of Merciless Truth. The breaking begins, but it cannot complete itself until you dare to look directly into the mirror of truth. Not the mirror that flatters, not the one that distorts, but the merciless mirror that reflects every hidden weakness, every abandoned dream, every betrayal of your own greatness. Few have the courage to face it, but those who do unlock the doorway to transformation. Imagine standing before a mirror that sees beyond your face, beyond your smile, beyond the masks you've worn to convince the world and yourself that you are stronger than you truly feel. This mirror pierces into the marrow of your being. It shows you the nights you wasted on distraction, the mornings you surrendered to laziness, the opportunities you let slip because fear whispered louder than courage. There is no escape here, no place to hide. This confrontation is brutal because it strips away illusion. You can no longer pretend that the life you live is the life you truly want. You can no longer comfort yourself with excuses about timing, luck, or circumstance. The mirror reveals the truth, that you and only you have built the reality you inhabit, that you and only you can destroy it and build anew. At first, the sight of yourself in this raw form feels unbearable. Shame rises, denial tempts you to turn away, anger tells you the mirror lies. But the mirror is pure. It does not exaggerate. It does not diminish. It only reflects. Your task is not to run from what you see, but to embrace it with unflinching honesty. For what you acknowledge, you can transform. What you deny, you cannot change. Consider the warrior preparing for battle. He does not ignore the dents in his armor or the weakness in his stance. He faces them directly, for he knows that to deny them is to invite defeat. You must do the same. See yourself fully, your strength and your fragility, your courage and your fear. Only then can you forge yourself into the weapon life demands you become. The merciless truth is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. It reveals the exact places where your old self still lingers, the cracks where mediocrity hides. And though it feels like judgment, it is actually grace. For the mirror does not only show you what you are, it shows you what you could become. When you face the mirror long enough, something extraordinary happens. The shame dissolves, the anger quiets. What remains is a fierce clarity. You see yourself not as broken, but as unfinished, not as weak, but as untested. The mirror whispers, here is your work, here is your battlefield, here is your chance to rise. This practice becomes a ritual. Each day, stand before the mirror, not merely the glass on your wall, but the deeper mirror of reflection. Ask yourself, where have I lied to myself today? Where have I hidden? Where have I betrayed my potential? Answer without flinching. In time, you will no longer fear the reflection. You will hunger for it, knowing that every truth faced is another chain broken. The merciless mirror will not flatter you. It will not spare your feelings, but it will free you, and in that freedom lies the first glimmer of greatness. Chapter 3. The Ritual of Discomfort. Training in the Furnace. Every step toward greatness demands that you walk willingly into the fire of discomfort. Comfort is the poison that weakens civilizations, destroys warriors, and sedates the spirit until all ambition dies. To embrace comfort as your companion is to invite mediocrity into your home and feed it until it grows strong enough to rule you. But to embrace discomfort as your ritual is to train in the furnace where greatness is forged. Discomfort is not merely a test, it is a teacher. It strips away the illusions of ease and exposes who you truly are beneath the surface. When your body aches, when your mind protests, when everything in you cries for escape, the voice of truth emerges. It whispers, "This is where strength is born." The ancient warriors knew this. They did not wait for struggle to arrive. They sought it out, crafting rituals of hardship so their spirits remained sharp and unyielding. They understood what you must now understand. Only in the furnace of discomfort do you meet the self that is capable of greatness. To train in the furnace, you must abandon the fantasy that growth is convenient. It is not. Growth is jagged, painful, and relentless. The seed does not sprout without breaking its shell. The muscle does not strengthen without tearing. The mind does not expand without being stretched to the edge of breaking. Every process of transformation demands sacrifice, and discomfort is the price. Picture a man plunging his hands into icy water each morning, training his will against the shock that bites into his skin. At first, his body trembles, his mind screams, his breath falters. But over time, the tremble becomes steadiness, the scream becomes silence, the falter becomes control. What once broke him now serves him. This is the essence of ritual discomfort. It is not punishment, it is preparation. Your daily life must become a battlefield of chosen challenges. Wake when your old self craves sleep. Move your body when lethargy whispers. Speak truth when silence feels safer. Pursue the task you fear most, instead of hiding behind the one you already know. Each deliberate choice to step into discomfort is another strike of the hammer shaping the blade of your character. But understand this: discomfort is not chaos. It is ritual. It is chosen with intention, embraced with reverence. Anyone can stumble into hardship, but only the deliberate few can transform it into a sacred practice. Your discomfort must be structured, repeated, and endured with consistency until it becomes as natural to you as breathing. This ritual changes not just your body, but your mind. Over time, discomfort ceases to be your enemy. It becomes your ally. You begin to crave the furnace because you know it reveals truths comfort has always hidden from you. You learn to trust the struggle, to see it as proof that you are alive and moving toward something greater. And as this trust deepens, fear begins to dissolve. You will face moments when the ritual feels unbearable, days when your mind insists you cannot continue. This is where the secret lies. The moment you believe you are finished is the threshold of true growth. Push once more, take one more step, hold for one more breath. On the other side of that resistance lies the birth of the self you came here to become. Greatness does not belong to those who avoid pain. It belongs to those who train with it, who make it their companion until the fire no longer burns, but purifies. This is the path. The ritual of discomfort is not optional. It is the furnace where your old self is melted down and the indestructible version of you is forged. Chapter 4. Slaying the Illusions That Keep You Small. The most dangerous prisons are not built of stone, but of illusion. They are walls constructed in the mind, invisible yet impenetrable, holding you captive within boundaries you never question. These illusions are cunning. They whisper that you are not ready, not worthy, not capable. They disguise themselves as logic, as caution, even as love. But beneath their surface lies the same poison, smallness. And if you do not shatter them, they will suffocate your destiny. Illusions begin early. From childhood, you were handed beliefs by family, by society, by culture. Some told you what you could not do. Others set invisible ceilings on how far you were allowed to rise. Over time, these whispers became your truth, unexamined yet obeyed. They shaped the choices you made, the risks you avoided, the dreams you abandoned. And though no physical chains bound you, you lived as a prisoner of illusions. To rise into greatness, you must slay these illusions with merciless clarity. You cannot negotiate with them. You cannot politely ask them to release you. They must be hunted, exposed, and destroyed. For as long as they live, they will sabotage every step you take. The first illusion to confront is the belief that safety is noble. Safety is the comfort zone disguised as virtue. It tells you that staying small is wise, that avoiding risk is intelligent, that mediocrity is stability. But safety is a cage. Greatness is never found behind locked doors. You must recognize that the pursuit of safety has cost you more than the pursuit of risk ever could. The second illusion is time. The lie that you have endless days, that someday you will begin, that the future will always wait. This illusion is deadly. Each sunrise is a gift counted against a finite number, and every day you surrender to delay is a day you will never reclaim. Greatness is not built in some distant tomorrow. It is forged in the urgency of today. The third illusion is permission. You wait for someone to bless your dream, to validate your worth, to confirm that you are allowed to rise. This illusion keeps countless souls asleep while their potential withers. No one will hand you permission. No one will open the gates for you. You must storm them yourself. When you begin slaying illusions, resistance will rise. Your mind will argue for their survival. It will defend them as though they are treasures rather than prisons. But you must be ruthless. Each time you catch yourself repeating an old lie, cut it down. Replace it with a brutal truth. Tell yourself, safety is slavery, and I will not live as a slave. Tell yourself, time is fleeting, and I will act today. Tell yourself, permission is a myth, and I am the authority over my life. Repeat these truths until they roar louder than the illusions that once bound you. This process is not gentle. It is war. You will feel fear, doubt, and resistance clawing to reclaim their hold. But do not relent. For every illusion slain, a new horizon appears. Every lie destroyed creates space for power to rise. Greatness is not something you create. It is something you uncover. It has always lived within you, waiting for the illusions to fall. When the smoke clears and the lies lie slain at your feet, you will feel it. The vastness of who you truly are, boundless, limitless, unstoppable. And from that moment forward, no illusion will ever hold you again. Chapter 5. The Brutality of Discipline, Building the Unshakable Core. Discipline is the dividing line between those who dream and those who rise. Talent without discipline rots. Passion without discipline burns out. Desire without discipline collapses under its own weight. Discipline is the brutal spine of greatness, the unshakable core that carries you when motivation dies, when excitement fades, when every muscle of your being screams for relief. Without it, nothing endures. With it, everything becomes possible. Understand this: discipline is not the gentle act of order. It is the merciless act of control. It is commanding your body when it rebels, directing your mind when it wanders, and bending your will toward a path so relentless that nothing can break it. Discipline is not built in moments of ease. It is carved in the dark hours when no one is watching, when excuses are loudest, when quitting feels like salvation. It is there, in that crucible, where the core of your being is formed. Your old self will fight against this. It will whisper lies. Rest now, you've done enough. Tomorrow will be better. One slip will not matter. These are not harmless thoughts. They are assassins, sent to sabotage your future. Discipline is the sword that cuts them down. Each time you act in defiance of weakness, you sharpen that blade. Each time you choose the harder path, you strengthen the walls of your fortress. Think of the warrior rising before dawn, while the world still sleeps. The cold bites his skin, his body protests, but he moves, not because he feels like it, but because he has sworn allegiance to his purpose. This is discipline, a sacred oath to yourself, renewed daily in action, never in empty words. Discipline is brutal because it demands consistency. Anyone can rise once, twice, even 10 times. But discipline is rising every time. It does not bend for mood, for fatigue, for circumstance. It commands repetition until excellence becomes instinct. The musician who masters his instrument, the athlete who perfects her form, the visionary who builds an empire. They are not guided by bursts of inspiration, but by the merciless rhythm of discipline. Do not confuse discipline with punishment. It is not cruelty. It is love of the highest form. The parent who spares discipline condemns their child to weakness. The self who spares discipline condemns their destiny to dust. To live without discipline is to wander without anchor, blown by every wind of doubt and desire. To live with discipline is to become the storm itself, unyielding, unstoppable. The brutality of discipline is what makes it sacred. It strips away the indulgence of feelings, replacing them with the permanence of action. It demands you rise when your body begs for rest, to speak truth when silence is easier, to take the step when fear paralyzes you. Each act becomes a brick laid into the foundation of your unshakable core. This is how greatness is built, not in grand gestures, but in relentless repetition. Discipline is brushing the same stroke until mastery appears, writing the same words until clarity shines, running the same path until strength erupts. It is the grind, the monotony, the endless rehearsal that others abandon, but you endure. And when the day comes, when storms rage around you, when failure mocks you, when the world doubts you, you will not break, because discipline has already broken you, rebuilt you, and made you indestructible. Chapter 6. Embracing Pain as a Sacred Teacher. Pain is the language of transformation. Every great being who has walked this earth has been accompanied by pain, not as an enemy, but as a guide. The weak run from it, numb it, deny it. The great ones bow before it, learn from it, and rise through it. To embrace pain is to unlock the deepest wisdom of existence. Pain strips away illusion. It does not flatter, it does not deceive. When pain comes, it reveals exactly who you are. The ache in your body shows you where strength is absent. The sting in your heart shows you where attachment still rules. The turmoil in your mind shows you where fear still commands. Pain exposes the fault lines in your soul so they can be rebuilt in strength. Without pain, you would remain blind to your own weakness. Think of the blacksmith shaping steel. The metal resists until the hammer strikes. It is the repeated blow, the relentless heat, the merciless pressure that transforms his raw ore into a blade. Pain is the hammer of your life. It pounds against you not to destroy, but to refine. Every trial, every loss, every failure, every heartbreak is a strike in the forge of your becoming. Most people curse pain. They resent it as though it were unfair. But pain is not unfair. Pain is precise. It appears where growth is demanded. The athlete who welcomes sore muscles grows stronger. The heart that endures grief becomes deeper. The mind that wrestles with struggle becomes sharper. Pain always carries a gift, but only for those who open themselves to its teaching. There is a secret here. The moment you stop resisting pain, it changes form. What once felt unbearable becomes fuel. What once felt like punishment becomes instruction. Pain, embraced, becomes power. The runner who accepts burning lungs finds the strength to endure. The leader who accepts criticism finds the clarity to evolve. The soul who accepts heartbreak discovers love within that can never be broken again. This does not mean pain is easy. Its lessons often cut deep, tearing apart what you thought you could not live without. But what is destroyed is only the false self. Pain clears away illusions faster than comfort ever could. It removes the shallow, the unnecessary, the fragile, until only the essential remains. And that essential is indestructible. To embrace pain as a teacher, you must shift your relationship with it. Do not ask, why me? Instead ask, what is this teaching me? What strength is being forged here? What weakness is being revealed? When you ask with reverence, pain will answer. It will guide you to places within yourself you never knew existed, places where resilience, power, and wisdom wait. Consider the warrior pierced by loss. He falls to his knees, his heart shattered, his world undone. In that moment he has two choices, to remain broken or to let pain teach him. If he chooses the latter, he rises not as the same man but as something greater, a soul that has tasted death and chosen life with fiercer devotion. Pain does not end him, it remakes him. This is the brutal truth. Greatness is impossible without pain. To seek a life free from it is to seek a life free from growth. Every scar is a story of transformation, every wound a doorway to strength. Pain is not your enemy, it is your initiation. When pain comes, and it will, stand before it not as a victim, but as a student. Bow to it, endure it, learn from it, let it shape you, let it burn away the weakness, the illusions, the excuses, let it carve you into something unbreakable. And when the lesson is complete, you will no longer fear pain. You will welcome it, knowing it carries within it the key to the very greatness you were born to embody. Chapter 7. The Warrior's Silence, Finding Power in Stillness. In a world drowning in noise, silence has become the rarest weapon. People flee from it, terrified of what they might hear when the distractions fade, and only the voice of truth remains. Yet the warrior, the seeker of greatness, runs toward silence. For in silence lies a force more powerful than endless words, more commanding than constant motion. It is here in the depth of stillness, where clarity sharpens like a blade and power takes root. The old self despises silence because it cannot hide within it. In the chaos of distraction, weakness camouflages itself, excuses find refuge, and lies grow unchecked. But in silence, all masks are stripped away. You stand face to face with yourself, with no shield, no performance, no escape. At first, this confrontation is brutal. The restless mind screams, demanding movement, demanding sound, demanding anything to drown out the truth. But if you endure, if you hold your ground in the silence, something miraculous begins to occur. The noise within starts to weaken. The racing thoughts, the endless worries, the constant chatter, they lose their grip. What once felt unbearable becomes bearable. What once felt unbearable becomes necessary. The silence shifts from enemy to ally, from torment to teacher. And in that stillness you discover a voice far deeper than the one you use to speak. It is the voice of your higher self, calm yet fierce, commanding yet compassionate. It has always been there, waiting for you to quiet long enough to hear it. The warrior's silence is not passive. It is not weakness or retreat. It is the deliberate act of stepping back from chaos to gather strength, to sharpen vision, to steady the heart. A warrior does not rush blindly into every battle. He pauses, he observes, he listens, to the rhythm of his breath, to the pulse of his body, to the whispers of the world around him. In silence, he aligns himself with truth, before unleashing his force. This stillness is brutal because it reveals everything you try to avoid. The doubts you bury, the regrets you deny, the fears you disguise, they all rise to the surface when silence surrounds you. Many turn away, terrified of this unveiling, but the one who seeks greatness does not flinch. He allows the silence to burn through him, knowing that only by facing these shadows can he claim the light. Make silence a daily ritual. Rise before dawn and sit in stillness while the world still sleeps. Let the quiet seep into your bones, steadying your breath, calming your mind. Do not run when discomfort appears. Welcome it, for it means the work has begun. Listen not for answers in words, but for the deeper knowing that silence awakens. In time, this practice will become your fortress, a sanctuary no chaos can penetrate. For when the storms of life rage, when voices of doubt surround you, when noise presses in from every side, you will not falter. You will carry within you the silence of the warrior, unshakable, immovable. You will hear your inner command above all else, guiding you with precision and power. Greatness does not come from endless motion or constant noise. It comes from the stillness that births clarity, from the silence that sharpens focus, from the calm that holds unyielding strength. Step into the silence, endure its brutality, and there you will discover the untouchable power of the warrior within. Chapter 8. Sacrifice, Trading Weakness for Destiny. Greatness is never free. It demands payment, and the currency is sacrifice. Every dream, every vision, every destiny calls for something to be surrendered. You cannot carry weakness and expect to arrive at strength. You cannot cling to comfort and expect to walk the path of fire. You cannot serve two masters, mediocrity and greatness. One must die so the other can live. Sacrifice is brutal because it feels like loss. The old self cries out as you strip away its indulgences, its pleasures, its excuses. It tells you that you are cruel, that you are depriving yourself of joy, that you are cutting away pieces of your own life. But understand this truth: what you give up in sacrifice is never truly yours. It is the weight that keeps you from rising, the chain that drags you into mediocrity. Sacrifice is not deprivation, it is liberation. Every great figure who ever rose to power understood this law. The warrior sacrifices comfort to sharpen his skill. The scholar sacrifices distraction to master his mind. The visionary sacrifices acceptance to walk the lonely path of truth. Each sacrifice feels heavy, but it forges a power that comfort could never give. Look at your life with ruthless honesty. What habits drain your strength? What relationships keep you small? What comforts dull your edge? These are the offerings required at the altar of greatness. To keep them is to remain shackled. To release them is to step into destiny. Sacrifice is not a one-time act. It is a continual ritual. Each day demands another piece of the old self to be cut away. Some sacrifices will feel small, an hour of sleep traded for discipline, a fleeting pleasure traded for focus. Others will feel enormous, the letting go of people who cannot walk with you, the surrender of identities that no longer fit. Each sacrifice is painful, but each opens a door that comfort keeps closed. The paradox of sacrifice is that what feels like loss soon reveals itself as gain. The energy you free from distraction becomes fuel for creation. The time you reclaim from indulgence becomes space for mastery. The relationships you release make way for those aligned with your highest path. Every sacrifice plants the seeds of your future self, though in the moment it feels like cutting flesh. This is the brutality of destiny. It does not negotiate. It demands your all. You cannot step halfway into greatness. You cannot give partially and expect fullness in return. Destiny will strip you bare, but in doing so, it will reveal the self that was always waiting beneath. When the moment of sacrifice arrives, do not hesitate. Do not mourn what is being left behind. Instead, lift it up as an offering, knowing that it is the price of your becoming. Speak to yourself. I release this not in weakness, but in strength. I surrender this not as loss, but as gain. I trade what is lesser for what is greater. And as the old falls away, as weakness dies upon the altar of your will, you will feel it. The rising of something new, something vast, something unshakable. You will understand that sacrifice is not the end of joy, but the birth of power. Greatness demands blood, and when you offer it willingly, you discover that destiny has been waiting all along, ready to crown you with the life you were born to live. Chapter 9. The Death of Excuses, Radical Ownership of Self. Excuses are the final refuge of the weak. They are soft pillows for tired souls, comforting lies that cradle mediocrity. Yet behind every excuse lies the same bitter truth, a refusal to claim full responsibility for your life. To rise into greatness, excuses must die. Not one, not some, all of them. Every justification, every rationalization, every story you've told yourself to soften your failures must be buried. Excuses masquerade as reason. They wear the mask of circumstance, timing, even compassion. I couldn't because the moment wasn't right. I didn't because others held me back. I failed because life was unfair. These whispers seem convincing, but they are nothing more than chains. As long as you believe them, you remain a prisoner, powerless to change. The warrior on the path to greatness takes a different stance. He looks at his life with eyes unclouded by self-pity. He says, "Every outcome I face, I created. Every success I forged. Every failure I allowed." This is radical ownership, not partial, not selective, but total. It is the recognition that nothing in your life is beyond your command. It may not all be your fault, but it is all your responsibility. This is a brutal truth because it strips away every comfort. There is no one left to blame, not your parents, not your teachers, not your enemies, not the world. Only you remain. But within this brutality lies a secret of immense power. If you created your current reality, then you can create another. If your choices built the cage, then your choices can tear it down. Ownership is not a burden, it is liberation. The death of excuses requires vigilance. Excuses are cunning. They slip into your mind, disguised as reason. You must train yourself to catch them in the moment. When you hear the words, "I can't because," pause. When you hear yourself say, "I would, but," stop. Ask, is this truth or is this an excuse? 99 times out of 100, you will discover the latter. Destroying excuses is not comfortable. It forces you to admit that your failures came not from fate, but from your own hesitation, your own inaction, your own surrender. The ego resists this violently, preferring to believe in external villains rather than internal weakness. But the warrior does not indulge the ego. He slays it, knowing that the pain of honesty is the beginning of power. From this place of ownership, action becomes inevitable. When excuses die, only two choices remain: do or do not. No more hiding behind circumstance. No more waiting for the right time. No more blaming the world. Each decision, each step, each action belongs to you alone, and with each act of responsibility, you reclaim a piece of your sovereignty. This death of excuses is permanent. Once you step into ownership, you cannot go back. You can try to resurrect the old lies, but they will ring hollow, powerless against the clarity you now carry. You will know in your bones that every excuse is a theft from your future, and you will refuse to rob yourself again. Greatness demands this radical ownership. It will not settle for less. Excuses are poison to destiny, and only when they die can you drink fully from the cup of power. Stand now at the grave of your excuses. Look upon their lifeless forms and swear an oath. Never again will I betray my greatness with a lie. From this moment forward, I own everything, my failures, my triumphs, my life. And as you speak these words, feel the chains fall away. What remains is freedom, the freedom to create, to rise, to become unstoppable. Chapter 10, Walking Through Fire, Harnessing Adversity as Fuel. Fire has two faces. It destroys and it refines. For most, adversity feels like destruction, burning away plans, scorching dreams, leaving behind only ash. But the warrior sees fire differently. He sees adversity not as an enemy, but as fuel. He understands that every flame that licks at his life is shaping him, hardening him, purifying him into something greater than he was before. Adversity is unavoidable. It is the storm that crashes into every life, the fire that sweeps through every path. You cannot run from it. You cannot bargain with it. You cannot command it to spare you, but you can choose how you walk through it. For those who resist, adversity becomes torment. For those who surrender, adversity becomes transformation. The fire tests everything. It tests your patience, your endurance, your belief in yourself. It exposes the cracks in your foundation, the weaknesses in your armor. At first you will feel stripped bare, defenseless, consumed by flames. But this is the very point. Fire does not reveal your strength until it has burned away all pretense, all illusion, all weakness. What survives the fire cannot be destroyed. Consider the alchemist who places base metal into the furnace. At first, it melts, it suffers. It seems to lose all form, but in that melting, impurities are burned away, and what emerges is something new, something purified, something closer to gold. So it is with you. Adversity will melt you, but it will also reveal the purest essence of who you are. The weak curse adversity. They ask, "Why me?" They believe the fire is punishment, but the warrior asks a different question. How is this fire forging me? What strength is being born here? What power is being revealed? In this way, every trial becomes a gift. Every struggle becomes a resource. Every flame becomes fuel. Adversity feeds greatness because it forces growth. When life is easy, you do not stretch. When comfort surrounds you, you do not expand. But when fire surrounds you, you are pushed to your edge and beyond it. Muscles grow only when torn. Spirits rise only when challenged. Souls awaken only when tested. Adversity is the teacher you would never choose, yet it delivers the lessons you need most. The key is not to resist the fire, but to walk through it with intention. Do not flail, do not fight, do not despair. Stand tall, breathe deeply. Tell yourself, this fire is not my end, it is my beginning. I will not be consumed, I will be transformed. When you hold this stance, the flames shift from torment to ally. They stop destroying you and begin refining you. There will be scars. Fire always leaves its mark. But these scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof of survival, proof of resilience, proof that you have faced what others feared and emerged stronger. Each scar becomes a badge, each burn a story, each wound a reminder that you are unbreakable. Walking through fire is not about avoiding pain, it is about using it. It is about taking the heat of adversity and channeling it into focus, determination, and unshakable will. The more intense the fire, the more power you forge. So when adversity comes, and it will, welcome it. Do not ask for smaller fires. Ask for the strength to walk through them. Do not beg for ease. Demand refinement. Say to yourself, every flame is fuel. Every trial is my teacher. Every fire is my forge. And when you emerge from the blaze, you will not be the same. You will carry within you the power of one who has been tested, purified, and made new. You will walk not as a victim of fire, but as one who commands it. Chapter 11. The Brutal Honesty of Failure. Failure is the shadow that stalks every dream. Most run from it, terrified of its sting, ashamed of its presence, desperate to hide it beneath masks of pretense. But greatness demands a different response. The warrior does not flee from failure. He walks directly into it, letting its brutal honesty cut him open. For in the wound of failure lies the seed of transformation. Failure is merciless. It does not flatter, it does not bend to your feelings. It looks you in the eye and says, "You were not prepared, you were not disciplined enough, you were not yet worthy of the prize you sought." Weak men crumble beneath this truth, collapsing into bitterness and despair. Strong men bow their heads, absorb the blow, and rise sharpened. The weak say, "I failed, therefore I am nothing." The strong say, "I failed, therefore I will learn, therefore I will rise, therefore I will become unstoppable." The first lesson of failure is exposure. It reveals exactly where you are lacking. You cannot lie in the presence of failure. If your preparation was weak, it shows. If your focus was scattered, it shows. If your courage was hollow, it shows. Failure shines a light on all that is incomplete within you. And though the exposure is humiliating, it is also the greatest gift. For what is revealed can be rebuilt. What is uncovered can be strengthened. The second lesson of failure is humility. It reminds you that you are not invincible, not yet. It breaks the arrogance that blinds growth, stripping you down to the raw truth of your current capacity. Humility is not weakness, it is the soil where mastery takes root. Only when you acknowledge that you do not yet know enough, that you are not yet strong enough, can you begin to build the strength that true greatness demands. The third lesson of failure is resilience. Every time you rise from defeat, you prove to yourself that nothing can break you. The act of standing again after being knocked down engraves a truth into your soul. You are unyielding. Each fall becomes fuel. Each setback becomes momentum. Each failure becomes another layer of armor forged onto your spirit. But you must choose this response. Failure alone does not build you. It is your relationship with failure that decides your destiny. Those who curse it, deny it, or wallow in it remain broken. Those who face it, embrace it, and study it rise stronger than before. Make failure your mentor. After every defeat, sit in silence and ask, what did this reveal? What weakness must I destroy? What lesson must I carry forward? Write these truths, burn them into your mind, and swear never to repeat the same mistake. In this way, failure ceases to be your enemy. It becomes your most ruthless, most honest teacher. There is a sacred brutality in failure. It does not care about your pride. It does not care about your excuses. It does not care about your feelings. And this is why it is precious. It will never lie to you. It will always tell you the truth, even when the truth hurts more than anything you've ever felt. Do not run from failure. Seek it. Test yourself so fully that failure becomes inevitable, for in those moments you will find the limits of your current self, and only by finding those limits can you break them. Greatness is not the absence of failure. It is mastery of failure. It is rising again and again until the very concept of defeat loses its hold over you. Fail brutally, fail honestly, fail often, and through every fall you will carve yourself into the one who cannot be stopped. Chapter 12. Shattering the Chains of Fear. Fear is the most ancient prison. It has shackled kings, silenced prophets, and buried countless dreams in graves of regret. It whispers into your soul that you are too small, too weak, too unworthy to pursue what you desire. Fear tells you to wait, to hide, to remain safe. But greatness does not wait. Greatness does not hide. Greatness demands that you rip apart fear's chains and walk forward even as your heart pounds with terror. Fear thrives in silence, in hesitation, in avoidance. The longer you obey it, the stronger it grows. Every time you shrink back, every time you retreat, every time you choose safety over risk, fear feeds. It becomes a monster that towers over you, dictating the borders of your life. But here lies the brutal truth. Fear has no substance. It is smoke. It is shadow. It has only the power you grant it. And once you confront it, once you step into it, you discover that it dissolves beneath your touch. The first chain of fear is the fear of failure. It convinces you that stumbling is death, that mistakes are unbearable. Yet the warrior who has walked through failure knows better. He knows that failure is not the end, but the fire that refines. When this chain breaks, fear loses its sharpest weapon. The second chain of fear is the fear of judgment. You are watched, criticized, doubted, mocked. The weak live as slaves to opinion, bending themselves to earn approval. But approval is a mirage. It shifts, it fades, it never lasts. True freedom comes when you look into the eyes of the world and declare, I will not live for your acceptance. I will live for my destiny. When this chain shatters, your steps grow steady, unshakable. The third chain of fear is the fear of the unknown. The path ahead is dark, uncertain, without guarantees. Most turn back, preferring the misery they know to the possibility they cannot see. But the warrior steps into the unknown willingly, for he understands that greatness always hides in uncharted territory. Certainty is the playground of the ordinary. Uncertainty is the battlefield of the extraordinary. Breaking these chains requires brutal courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is mastery of it. Courage means acting while afraid, stepping forward even as your knees shake, speaking truth even as your voice trembles. Each act of courage weakens fear's grip, until one day you realize it no longer commands you. Fear will never vanish entirely. It will always linger at the edges of your journey, but it will no longer rule you. Instead, it will become fuel. Fear sharpens awareness. Fear heightens focus. Fear signals that you are on the edge of growth. When you feel it, do not retreat. Smile. Say to yourself, fear is proof I am on the right path. Then step forward into it again and again until fear becomes your compass. This is the sacred paradox. Fear, when mastered, becomes power. What once held you captive now becomes the signpost to your destiny. Each fear shattered is another gate unlocked, another horizon revealed, another piece of your greatness claimed. Do not let fear chain you one more day. Do not let it steal another dream, another chance, another breath of your potential. Rise, tear the chains apart, and step into the vastness that waits beyond. Fear is nothing but shadow. You are the fire, and when you walk forward in courage, the shadows scatter, revealing the greatness that has always been yours. Chapter 13. The Forge of Consistency, Becoming Untouchable. Power does not belong to those who rise once in a blaze of glory. It belongs to those who rise every day without fail, without excuse, without surrender. Consistency is the forge where greatness is shaped, not through single moments of brilliance, but through relentless repetition. The world celebrates the spark, but it is the steady flame that burns through the night, unyielding, untouchable. Consistency is brutal because it demands the same devotion whether you are inspired or empty, whether the sun shines or storms rage, whether you feel unstoppable or broken. Anyone can act when the fire of passion burns hot. Few continue when the fire dwindles, when the body aches, when the mind rebels. This is why consistency is sacred. It separates the committed from the pretenders, the destined from the distracted. Each act of consistency is a strike of the hammer. One swing does not shape the blade. 10 strikes do not complete the form. It is the 1,000th, the 10,000th, the endless rhythm of hammer against steel that forges the weapon unbreakable. So it is with you. Your greatness will not be born in a single victory, but in the repetition of daily choices that seem small, insignificant, almost invisible. But compounded, they are unstoppable. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack consistency. They rise in bursts, then fall into silence. They sprint, then collapse. They build, then abandon. This stop-and-start existence leaves them weak, their dreams half-built, their potential half-realized. Consistency is what transforms effort into mastery, habit into identity, action into destiny. Understand this: consistency is not about intensity, it is about longevity. The warrior does not burn himself out in a single battle. He trains, he drills, he prepares endlessly, knowing that the war is long. Intensity may win a day. Consistency wins a lifetime, but the path is merciless. Consistency requires you to endure boredom, to embrace monotony, to find strength in repetition. There will be days when nothing feels new, when progress feels invisible, when every fiber of your being asks, "Why continue?" It is in these moments that most give up. But these are the very moments that crown the consistent with power. For every step taken in silence, every repetition endured without applause, every action carried out without reward becomes a deposit into the vault of greatness. The forge of consistency burns away weakness. Each day you rise, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. Each day you act, you weaken the voice of excuse. Each day you remain faithful, you engrave into your soul the truth that nothing can stop you. And over time, you transform, not suddenly, but inevitably. Do not look for dramatic breakthroughs, look for the compounding of steady action. One drop of water cannot carve stone, but 10,000 drops create rivers, canyons, entire landscapes. Your consistent actions carve destiny in the same way. Slowly, invisibly, then all at once, the world changes because you refused to stop. When you commit to consistency, you become untouchable. Obstacles may delay you but cannot stop you. Failures may sting but cannot derail you. Distractions may whisper but cannot seduce you. For the one who is consistent cannot be broken because he does not depend on circumstance. He depends only on his vow. Swear the oath now. I will rise every day. I will act every day. I will build every day. No matter how I feel, no matter what storms arise, no matter how slow the progress, I will not stop. For in the forge of consistency, I will be remade into the unshakable, the unstoppable, the untouchable. Chapter 14. The Rebellion Against Mediocrity. Mediocrity is the silent poison of humanity. It creeps into lives unnoticed, whispering that good enough is enough, that comfort is happiness, that safety is wisdom. It numbs ambition, dulls passion, and blinds the spirit until entire lives pass in quiet resignation. But greatness cannot coexist with mediocrity. To rise, you must declare war on it. You must rebel against every trace of it in yourself and in the world around you. Mediocrity thrives because it promises ease. It tells you that you can settle, that you can relax, that you can live without struggle. And for a time it feels pleasant. But beneath its surface lies decay. Mediocrity kills slowly, not with violence but with stagnation. It robs you of your fire, of your hunger, of your destiny, until nothing remains but a shadow of what you could have been. The rebellion begins with refusal. Refusal to accept the average. Refusal to follow the herd. Refusal to live by the standards of those who settle for less. This refusal must burn in you like a sacred fire. Every time mediocrity whispers, you answer, "Not me." Every time it tempts you to slow, you say, "Not today." Every time it invites you to rest in comfort, you rise instead into action. But rebellion is not only defiance, it is creation. To rebel against mediocrity, you must build a life of excellence. Excellence in thought, in action, in presence. This does not mean perfection. It means devotion. It means pouring your full spirit into everything you touch, refusing to deliver half measures, refusing to live half alive. Excellence is brutal because it demands more than the world expects. Mediocrity asks for minimum effort. Excellence asks for everything. Mediocrity accepts excuses. Excellence accepts only results. Mediocrity looks for approval. Excellence looks only to destiny. To live this way is to separate yourself from the masses, to stand apart, to carry the weight of higher standards. But in this weight lies freedom, the freedom to live fully, to create endlessly, to rise without limit. The world will resist your rebellion. Those who live in mediocrity will mock you, resent you, even despise you. Your devotion will expose their laziness. Your hunger will reveal their complacency. But do not falter. The resistance is proof you are walking the right path. Every insult, every doubt, every attempt to drag you back is nothing more than a sign that you have chosen the road few dare to walk. The rebellion must also occur within. Mediocrity is not only around you, it is inside you. It shows itself when you settle for less than you are capable of, when you procrastinate, when you allow fear to guide you, when you silence your voice to fit in. Each time you do this, mediocrity wins. Each time you resist, excellence grows. The true battle is not with the world, but with yourself. Ask yourself daily, where have I chosen mediocrity? Where have I held back? Where have I betrayed my greatness for comfort? Answer honestly, then act ruthlessly. Cut away the habits, the thoughts, the compromises that chain you. Replace them with actions of fire, with choices that reflect the life you demand to live. This rebellion is endless. It does not stop until your last breath. Mediocrity will always wait at the edges, ready to pull you back into sleep. But if you remain vigilant, if you continue the fight, you will carve a life of magnificence from the stone of the ordinary. Rebel, refuse, rise. Let mediocrity find no place within you. Let the world know by your actions, by your presence, by your fire that greatness is not an option, it is your law. And let this rebellion ignite others until mediocrity trembles before the army of those who chose to rise. Chapter 15, The Sacred Rage, Transmuting Anger into Power. Rage has long been feared, silenced, condemned as destructive. And yes, unmastered rage consumes like wildfire, leaving only ashes in its path. But rage, when understood, when channeled, becomes sacred. It is the fire of the soul demanding change, the raw voice of your being declaring, no more. Rage is not the enemy. Weakness is. Cowardice is. Submission to mediocrity is. Rage, when transmuted, becomes the force that tears down chains and builds empires. Anger reveals itself whenever you are confronted with betrayal, injustice, or the suffocating weight of limitation. Most people either explode in blind destruction or suppress it until it corrodes them from within. Both paths are poison. The warrior takes a different path. He seizes rage with both hands, pulls it into his chest, and reshapes it into fuel. He does not let it burn him. He lets it forge him. To transmute rage is to recognize its message. Every time anger surges, it is pointing to a boundary crossed, a value betrayed, a potential denied. Instead of lashing out blindly, the warrior asks, what is this rage telling me? What weakness is it exposing? What power is it offering me if I claim it? In this way, anger becomes revelation. Think of the blacksmith's fire. Left uncontrolled, it rages wildly, consuming everything, even the smith himself. But focused in the forge, it becomes creation, the heat that melts metal, the flame that gives shape to steel. Rage is the same. Unfocused, it is destruction. Focused, it is transformation. History is filled with those who transmuted rage into greatness. Revolutions were born from the cry of "no more." Movements were ignited when individuals refused to tolerate oppression one day longer. Innovation itself often springs from the rage of refusing to accept limitations. Rage is sacred because it is proof that your soul refuses to stay asleep. It is the spark that awakens giants. But the transmutation demands discipline. The undisciplined man becomes a slave to rage. He lashes out, destroys relationships, sabotages his own mission. The disciplined man becomes a master of rage. He harnesses its energy, directing it into relentless focus, into action, into the breaking of barriers. When you feel anger rise, do not suppress it. Sit with it. Breathe into it. Ask it what it wants from you. Then shape it into fuel. Let the energy propel your training, your work, your vision. Let it sharpen your determination, amplify your courage, and annihilate hesitation. Rage is intensity, and intensity is the hammer that breaks through walls. Your rage is sacred because it belongs to you. It is the roar of your soul against all that would keep you small. Do not be ashamed of it. Do not run from it. Transmute it. Every time you do, you transform raw fire into divine power. And with that power, you can burn away every limitation, every chain, every trace of mediocrity that dares to stand before you. Chapter 16, Standing Alone, the Brutality of Independence. There comes a point on the path to greatness where you must walk alone, not because you despise others, not because you crave isolation, but because independence is the crucible of true power. Most cling to the crowd, terrified of solitude, desperate for validation. But greatness cannot be born in dependence. To rise, you must stand alone, face the silence, and discover that you are enough. Standing alone is brutal because it strips you of comfort. There is no applause, no encouragement, no one to hold your hand. The voices that once guided you fall silent, and the only voice that remains is your own. At first, this silence feels unbearable. Doubt creeps in. Loneliness presses against your chest. Fear whispers that you are lost. But if you endure, if you refuse to run back into the arms of the familiar, something extraordinary begins to happen. You begin to hear the deeper voice within. You discover strength you never knew you carried. You realize that the power to stand, to act, to create has always been yours. It was only hidden beneath the noise of others. Independence reveals the truth. You do not need permission. You do not need validation. You do not need consensus. You are your own authority, your own master, your own guide. Those who fear solitude never meet themselves. They live their entire lives as echoes of the crowd, reflections of other people's desires. But those who embrace solitude discover their true face. They walk through fire without witnesses, climb mountains without companions, endure nights without comfort, and in doing so, they awaken a power that cannot be taken away. Independence demands sacrifice. You may lose friendships, relationships, even entire communities that cannot follow where you go. You may be mocked, doubted, abandoned, but understand this: what leaves you was never meant to carry your destiny. What remains once you have stood alone is unbreakable. Standing alone is not permanent isolation. It is the phase of initiation. It is the proving ground where you build the spine of steel that will allow you to lead, to create, to rise. For only the one who has walked alone can truly walk with others without being bound by them. Only the one who has stood independent can truly offer strength to those who are weak. Do not fear the loneliness. Fear the dependence that keeps you chained. Do not mourn what you lose when you step away. Celebrate the power you gain when you stand on your own feet, guided only by your inner fire. Independence is brutal because it demands that you face your demons without distraction, your fears without escape, your weakness without disguise. But in this facing, you discover that you are far more than you imagined. You are self-contained power. You are a force unto yourself. You are sovereign. And when the day comes that you step back into the world, You will not return as one who needs. You will return as one who gives, as one who leads, as one who stands unshaken, no matter who stands beside you or who turns away. Standing alone is not abandonment. It is initiation. It is the crucible where the old self dies and the new self is born. Embrace it, endure it, and emerge from it with the unshakable knowledge that you are enough. Alone you are everything. And from that realization, greatness flows without limit. Chapter 17, The Iron Pact, Commitment Beyond Choice. Commitment is not a promise made lightly. It is an oath carved into the marrow of your being, an iron pact that admits no retreat, no surrender, no negotiation. Most people live by preference. They act when they feel like it, move when it is convenient, fight when it is easy. But greatness does not bend to preference. Greatness bows only to commitment. When you swear the iron pact, you eliminate choice. Choice is for the undecided, for those who keep one foot in comfort and one foot in destiny. Commitment is the burning of bridges, the torching of escape routes, the death of maybe. Once the pact is made, the only path is forward. You will bleed, you will stumble, you will fall, but you will not quit. The iron pact is brutal because it binds you even when your emotions betray you. On the days when fire burns in your chest, the pact is easy. On the days when you are exhausted, broken, and empty, the pact is merciless. It demands you rise anyway, and in that rising you prove that your word is stronger than your feelings, stronger than circumstance, stronger than weakness. Without this level of commitment, dreams die. They collapse under the weight of excuses, distractions, and shifting moods. But when the pact is forged, destiny itself bends to your will. The universe respects those who cannot be moved. Opportunities appear, doors open, allies arrive, not because fate is kind, but because unwavering commitment generates gravity. Everything is drawn to the one who refuses to break. Think of the warrior sworn to a cause. He does not pause to ask if he is tired, if he is afraid, if the odds are favorable. He has made a vow, and that vow is unshakable. He moves forward regardless of weather, regardless of wounds, regardless of cost. This is the essence of the Iron Pact, the erasure of all hesitation. But commitment is not forged with words. It is forged with action. Many proclaim loyalty in the heat of inspiration, but their resolve melts when the fire cools. The Iron Pact is not about saying, "I will." It is about doing, "I must," again and again, until the world no longer doubts. Every action, every step, every sacrifice proves the oath you carry within. This kind of commitment transforms you. It burns away the part of you that negotiates with fear, the part of you that seeks shortcuts, the part of you that begs for relief. All that remains is steel, unyielding, untouchable. And once you have forged yourself in this way, you become a force that no setback, no failure, no storm can destroy. Swear the Iron Pact to your destiny. Say to yourself, "I will not stop. I will not retreat. I will not bend. This is my path, and I will walk it until the end." Etch it into your soul so deeply that even when doubt claws at your mind, the pact answers louder. Even when fear seizes your chest, the pact pulls you forward. Even when your body fails, the pact drags you toward victory. This is the level of commitment greatness requires. Not preference, not convenience, not fleeting bursts of passion. An iron pact, a vow beyond choice, a sacred promise sealed with action, paid for with blood, and honored with every breath. Chapter 18, Greatness Demands Blood, the Price of Becoming. Every dream carries a price, and that price is steep. Greatness does not bargain, does not discount, does not accept half payment. It demands everything: your comfort, your time, your energy, your tears, your scars, your very blood. Those who seek it must be willing to bleed for it, to offer pieces of themselves on the altar of becoming. Without this sacrifice, greatness remains a phantom, a shadow forever out of reach. The world whispers lies of ease. It tells you that success can be won with hacks, shortcuts, effortless tricks. These illusions seduce the masses, but they collapse when tested by fire. The truth is harsher. Greatness is purchased with suffering. It asks for your sleepless nights, your broken body, your relentless persistence when nothing seems to move. It asks you to bleed, and to bleed willingly. Blood is the symbol of life itself. To give blood is to give essence, to pour out what sustains you. When you pour your blood into your craft, your training, your vision, you give it more than time, you give it your life. And the universe recognizes this offering. The world bends not to those who dabble, but to those who bleed. Think of the athlete who trains until muscles tear, who collapses on the ground drenched in sweat, only to rise again tomorrow. Think of the creator who labors in silence, hands blistered, eyes burning, pouring every ounce of themselves into their work. Think of the warrior who walks into battle knowing he may never return, yet fights anyway. This is the price. This is the cost. Greatness has always been bought with blood. Most will turn away. They will say the price is too high, the pain too much, the sacrifice unreasonable, and so they live small, safe, untouched by fire. But those who dare to pay discover a truth others will never know. Blood spent on the altar of greatness is never wasted. Every drop becomes fuel. Every scar becomes strength. Every wound becomes a story carved into the fabric of destiny. The demand is not cruelty, it is necessity. To achieve what others cannot, you must endure what others will not. To rise higher, you must pay deeper. Greatness cannot be given cheaply because its power would destroy the unprepared. The price shapes you into one worthy of holding it. Without the suffering, without the scars, without the blood, you would not be strong enough to bear the weight of greatness. Do not curse the cost, honor it. Every trial, every pain, every sleepless night is proof you are on the path. Each sacrifice is a sacred transaction, another step toward becoming the version of yourself that destiny demands. When you bleed for your dream, you seal your commitment in the most ancient language of all, sacrifice. Say to yourself, I will pay whatever it takes. I will endure whatever is required. I will give my comfort, my energy, my very blood, if that is the cost of becoming. With this vow, you strip away hesitation. You silence the voice that asks if it is worth it. You embrace the only truth that matters. Greatness always costs blood, and it is always worth the price. Bleed willingly, suffer proudly, sacrifice completely, for only those who pay with everything can become everything. Greatness demands blood, and in offering it, you claim the destiny that lesser souls will never dare to touch. Chapter 19. The Resurrection, Rebuilding the Self in Power. After destruction, after fire, after loss, there comes the sacred moment of resurrection. You have been broken, stripped, cut down to the bone. The old self lies in ruins, its illusions scattered like ash in the wind. This is not the end, it is the beginning. From these ruins you rise, not as you were, but as something entirely new. Resurrection is not about reclaiming the past. It is about becoming a self that never existed before, stronger, sharper, indestructible. Resurrection begins with acceptance. You must first stand among the fragments of your old identity and acknowledge what has died. Do not mourn weakness. Do not cling to comfort. Do not grieve for illusions. These things deserved death. They kept you small, chained, blind to the truth of your power. To rise, you must release them fully, thanking them for what they taught you and leaving them in the grave. Once the old is buried, the rebuilding begins. Resurrection is brutal because it demands patience. You cannot rush rebirth. Just as the body heals scar by scar, so the soul rebuilds layer by layer. Each new choice becomes a brick. in the foundation of your new self. Each act of discipline lays another stone. Each refusal to quit pours mortar between them. Slowly, silently, a fortress rises where once there was only rubble. The new self is not built on illusion, but on truth. In the resurrection, you no longer tell yourself comforting lies. You see yourself clearly, your strength, your scars, your victories, your failures, and you accept them all as the raw material of greatness. This honesty becomes your spine, unbending, unbreakable. Power grows in the resurrection because you know what it means to be destroyed. You no longer fear loss because you have already lost. You no longer fear failure because you have already failed. You no longer fear death of the old because you have already died. And in this fearless state, you are unstoppable. The one who has been broken and risen again cannot be defeated. He has already faced the worst and lived. Resurrection is not only personal, it is spiritual. You begin to feel connected to something larger than yourself. The same force that brings dawn after night, spring after winter, life after death flows through you. You become part of this eternal rhythm, an embodiment of the truth that nothing truly ends. Everything transforms. You are not the same person you were yesterday, and tomorrow you will be greater still. But resurrection demands vigilance. The old self will try to return. It will whisper from the grave, calling you back into comfort, into weakness, into chains. You must refuse it every time. Remind yourself, I am not who I was. I am who I choose to become. Repeat this until the whispers fade, until the old self finally accepts its death. When you emerge fully from resurrection, you will see the world differently. Obstacles that once seemed immovable will look small. Fears that once paralyzed you will seem laughable. Doubts that once shouted will become silent. For you now carry within you the memory of death and rebirth, and that memory is your crown. Resurrection is not the end of the journey. It is the proof that you are worthy to continue it. You stand no longer as a seeker, but as one who has endured destruction and risen again. And from this point forward, you walk not as the person you once were, but as the unstoppable force you were always meant to be. Chapter 20, The Unstoppable One, Living as Embodied Greatness. There comes a moment when the path of fire, discipline, sacrifice, and resurrection completes its sacred work. You no longer chase greatness. You are greatness. It lives in your breath, in your eyes, in your presence. You are not becoming, you are. This is the state of the unstoppable one. The unstoppable one does not fear obstacles. He sees them as invitations, as opportunities to demonstrate the power he already carries. Where others tremble, he steps forward. Where others doubt, he acts. Where others surrender, he endures. He is not reckless, he is resolute. He moves with the calm certainty of one who knows that nothing outside him can defeat the force that lives within him. To live as unstoppable is not to live without struggle. Struggle will always remain. Pain will always visit. Storms will always rise. But the unstoppable one has learned to transmute these forces into fuel. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every scar becomes strength. Every loss becomes another layer of armor. The world cannot break him because he has already made every attack his servant. The unstoppable one is not consumed with proving himself to others. Validation is irrelevant. Applause is unnecessary. He does not perform for the crowd. He lives for the vow carved into his soul. His actions are guided not by fear of judgment or hunger for approval, but by his iron pact with destiny. He is free because he is faithful only to his mission. To embody greatness is to live as a mirror. In your presence, others see their own weakness and their own potential. Some will hate you for it, trying to drag you back into mediocrity. Others will be inspired, rising in your shadow. Both responses are proof that you have become a force larger than yourself. But beware, the unstoppable one is always tempted by complacency. Once greatness is achieved, the danger is to rest, to believe the journey is complete. This is the final trap, for the moment you stop, you begin to decline. The unstoppable one remains unstoppable only because he continues. He evolves, he expands, he rises beyond even the heights he once thought unreachable. He refuses to crown himself too early, knowing that mastery is an infinite ascent. Living as unstoppable is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about showing up every day with the full weight of your being, refusing to give half measures, refusing to betray your oath. It is about carrying the fire of your purpose in every action, no matter how small, until the ordinary becomes sacred and the mundane becomes extraordinary. The unstoppable one does not wonder if he will win. He knows it is inevitable. The only question is when and at what cost. He has already accepted the blood price. He has already sworn the iron pact. He has already faced failure, fear, and solitude. He has already died and been resurrected. Nothing remains that can halt him. This is the destiny awaiting you, not to watch others rise, not to admire greatness from afar, but to embody it, to live it, to breathe it, to become it. This is why you were broken, why you were tested, why you were called. To step into your rightful place as the unstoppable one. And when you do, you will realize the truth. Greatness was never something to chase. It was always within you, waiting for the moment you had the courage to claim it. Now you walk as its embodiment, untouchable, unshakable, unstoppable. The world no longer asks if you will succeed. It bows before the fact that you cannot be stopped.